There's a lot more. Yeah. Islam. That's right. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Islam. Islam, more dress up. Just another reminder, don't forget January 5th, we got our Noble Juali Day celebration, 29 St. Denis. So you can spread the word. You're definitely hating on the video right now because that's something bad. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardon button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Juali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is still the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to your prophet and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Juali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Juali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, Noble Juali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag off the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your profit. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam.
Islam.
There was a couple of things for review today. And one of those things was Brother Corbana meeting with one of these, we'll just say groups, one of these groups out here that have economic initiative for our people. So they have a business night where they let people who have businesses, you know, go up and talk or whatever. So Corbana had his presentation with them last week, and you know, it was eye-opening for him. So we just wanted to put some of the things that took place at that on the record, and as well answer some questions that he got out of that, which is going to be open for everybody to give their input with regard to answers to some of those questions. But Brother Corbana, if you want, you could stay there or whatever.
Yeah.
Just if you could talk up so the thing could hear you.
Yeah. So a few months ago, I had an opportunity to be involved in a group that spoke a lot about the same types of things that we did. Munich, the old Black Wall Street and what happened to that. The river industry, all those type of things involved in here. So I was very grateful to come across that. You know, during my studies over the years, I kind of go up and down in curves. I guess this is another curve where I kind of went back to the beginning and then I started going over the old information. You know, I remember on MHS Blog Talk, Grand Chief Fugitive was saying that you know, it's all about those 5 core principles, and that's the real added information. You know, going back to the basics. You know, so I took that to heart and started over again. And, you know, that brought another change of energy. So things again started falling in synchronicity. You know, so that's how I come to meeting up with this particular group. And they have this business night where you can present, you know, if you remember. But ultimately, though, people there, some wanted information with regards to, you know, their idea of who they are as an organization. And the other night, I was able to present some information, and at the end of it all, it was grateful to know that people wanted to know where could they go for advice, right? They actually wanted to know whether just this guy was up there talking and no one had any interest. And I don't think that saying that coming from me, it's been years here having Grand Chief, you know, all my as pretty, you know, getting that information to be able to basically just answer questions about what it was that they were interested in, coming off some principles that they have within their organization with like real interested. That is part of the whole connection that I use to let them know that they're just bureaucratized and slavery stuff. You know, so all that basic information that all of us know, right? All of us in this group have studied that. And through the end of all, I just spoke for about an hour, 45 minutes. as I was going now into say status, time is up. That's really where things really start, because that status is already there. But before that, there was questions about, are we Jews and that type of information that they're familiar with as, say, as Christians. They want to do the common knowledge. So it was an interesting night, and it was good to be able to do it. Moving into this space was part of that whole energy. Again, that synchronicity of things. And really, that's what just brought it all about. Being around borders and being able to build on this Sunday. Right? And it's just kind of so as far as questions, it was like when I asked them to pull up what's in their wallet, we all call that kind of training before, just to see, the all caps, and in regards to English, it's not correct. So what is it? And going into all that explanation and that, it's defining your God actually have my black slot, all this edition, that most of the is fourth edition, all the stuff that we've all been this is a good expression of what is happening here. Some of them had a little bit of idea. I read out of chapter 47 with regards to this land, saying that us over here, really the ones that don't know, but the rest of the world on the other side of the Atlantic knows who we are. And I connected that with chapter 47, Great Atlantis, and the earth was all together, and brought some understanding, and they're looking, and they're going, and they're accepting to a certain extent, but wanting to know more. Right? And then questions come, and then just answer with regards to this base that we built here over the last several years. Right? And it was good, and it was good to hear again that they wanted to know when the classes were. So hopefully everybody else, I guess we get there when you get there, to the hedges and highways, right? The hedges and highways, you get there when you get there.
Exactly.
I wasn't quite ready, but now it's sincere.
Exactly.
Yeah, just getting and books, like literature. That's the one that I used. I opened up that center page where it's got the whole column at the top, and below is all the garages, right? I used that, open that up, and show them this is what they think. This is what it is right here. And all this stuff like family services. And why do you need family services? This is what we're doing for ourselves before. Somebody else is doing it for you. You're paying. We went through a couple hours and we started. Oh yeah. And also let them know that it's not just us. At that point, it's not just us. They're the whole parties, all their parties are involved at that level too. But they get away with a little bit. And then into the birthright inheritance. So, other questions? As far as the Jews are concerned, I mentioned with Hebrew Israelites. We're the Jews. Ultimately, is what I said. But Hebrew Israelites, they claim that they're, Jews in that sense, but really they're just, Moors as well. They're all just Moors and going into the whole black, or the black and white, how it's presented to us on the grid. And they understood that, so it was good. And people are waking up, and that's what I said to them. It wasn't until I started reading again that, that's when things started. And that was 10 years ago, but it's taken this time. For it all kind of
or if you could also talk about that too, the idea of it taking time to actually click.
Yeah. It's like when you come in, you really want to go, right? You want to go. And you think you know something, but each time you get this little piece, and your head gets bigger, you realize, oh, it's bigger, yeah, right? So you really haven't tried anything, but there's so much to know. And it's been taking time. Like in that, it's like your DNA, right? That's what it's like for me. The movement of it, and then the spiral. Not up and down, it's spiral. I know it's coming through certain ideas again. I've been here before. I read this in the book before, but you get something new out of it this time. You get another level of understanding, like surface of concepts like that. Right? It's slowly how you those layers as you start to, to read more. And yeah, you have to go back. It's like stitching, right? Like a tailor, right? The back, you go back, so you got to do that in your training. At least I found that for me. That's what I had to do. going back. Well, we all got notes. Well, you'll notebook, go back to some of the stuff, and you'll be amazed to find. 2 weeks before that, another woman presented. She's Milwaukee. She was in Milwaukee. She was down in Atlanta when she was at the site where they had pyramids and all that. And she did hidden colors 2 weeks before that. And it was actually good to see that again, because out of that now, having some knowledge now, we'll be able to see pull up more and or recognize something like false. Right? So that was good to see that again, and knowing that I came in another level of understanding. And so they, again, as they were watching that, there was all the discussion about Moors in there as well. And they're beginning to recognize. So another thing they talk about at these sessions is for the mothers and fathers of civilization. Right? So I kind of use that as well. For that, why are we doing this? Why are we operating at this level? Rights of the nation and peoples, like explaining that link. That's not, they're not recognizing. I said, we say we're mothers and fathers of civilization, right? But we don't recognize what that means. We were here first. So it's the land, right? And we're not recognizing that's the land. There's mothers and fathers of civilization. That's and that again, that goes back to chapter 47. Saying this is Morocco, the maker back in that 18th. This is what everybody else knows, but you don't know. So I opened up some eyes. The whole concept to a lot of them is interesting, and the nigger initially book, they like that book. So maybe that's a suggestion for somebody, but everybody moves in their own way, right? But there's that slavery concept out there. This is prevalent. And I was thinking, the Toronto talks about Joshua teaching among the harlots and the thieves or courtesans, right? But it's not like our people are necessarily like that, but sometimes you got to go out of your own space now to go reach somebody. That depends on how far you can go. But it's to me, it's like nobody should be left behind. That's how I'm looking at this, right? As young again, I'm born again, and I've learned to think. 7th generation, what I'm doing is okay. And now I really get it. It's not for me per se. Like I'm just setting this up for something else. Related to like work, which means setting up something for something to operate. It's not a machine. This is biological, right? It's not a machine like that, but this is something like you're preparing for your future generations. They all talk about generational wealth. That's another theme, if you can segue that's out there and all that. Probably better stuff we got on, okay? Generational wealth, but really that is the truth. And we need to do that for ourselves when we don't do that. That's another thing they talk about. We need to support, our businesses, right? And we're not doing that. And they're actually doing it. That's the whole idea behind the business. When you come on business, now you bring in your business, what do? You get a few moments to go on. Talk about it. That's what I wanted to do, but then they were having Black History lectures, so I was offering. Why don't you go do that? Right? So that's great. Everything was just falling in next time. Doesn't mean I know anything. There's no love, branch shoot, right? Omar, that's it's another layer of knowledge, but to me that was like a transition. Being able to do that, right? Or just having the experience.
So what was the organization?
They like to keep their things kind of tight per se. Yeah. So what?
Well, it's the same.
So that's the same one you know. You know this one I'm talking about. Yeah.
But it's great that there's a few of us that have been able to speak to that. Whether we didn't go with a group,
right?
It's independent, right? But we were able to speak with her one-on-one and let her know what she's doing is beautiful.
Right.
Absolutely, that's what we talk about doing all the time. She's actually doing it, but then we give her some of the stuff that you've been giving her as well,
right?
About who we are, So yes, we're doing it. What you're doing is wonderful. The only thing that we have an issue with is the fact that you're doing it as a Black organization.
Right.
So, you're doing a great job. She's doing a fantastic job. She's got to understand as well. We all have to understand that we are wrong, and once we have that part of it, along with the the other things that they're doing in terms of health and wealth, etc.
Yeah, it was great for her. It was great for her to recognize that she had there was an opportunity for further growth with her community by allowing you openly, right? Exactly. So I was very opportunity to so build more for her. You know, she's a very kind of woman.
Yeah. That's great for them.
The questions.
Questions.
Are you going to go there next and do the
They have another one in 2 weeks, but we hit another version of McLeod again. So my next opportunity had to go. This might be a month, maybe 6 weeks, but you 2 weeks. So
I know, but I'm just saying, I feel it.
Yeah,
start a status system, like a stop and status, and that's where status, that's where you really start, right? That's where you really start getting. So that's why I left off. I'll start there. Surprised, like,
I have
you think you're gonna route some stuff the same.
I think we should be conscious to make sure that whoever is here, making sure that.
And
wherever it needs to be appropriate.
I know they're very important because everybody's studying. But if you get one, get one. Otherwise, people now. And that's what I had on the computer as well. So it's faster service.
Ought to take a look at black hole.
Oh, yeah. Right. Breakfast black hole.
And then also, I know the
Talk a little more.
also know the people that are classifying themselves as black should also look at the black code and then the divine constitution of Article 6.
I don't watch it from the other
You're doing it. What do you do? The land still? You turn it
Right. Yeah, that's why I believe that's a big entry. Either that or next problem. Yeah, one of those two. So some of them have that. Some of them have later on we're going into to get to experiment. Right. So that's going to be an item for somebody who likes to do that. That's what it looks like to me. I used another book I read. I read a book called Jesus, a Prophet of Islam. Okay, yeah, amazing title. Right? That was an English bookstore, and they had it in front displayed you can see. So, yeah. And this gentleman told you directly. He's writing in the perspective of Jesus being flesh and blood, being alive, and not deified. So we're wording that in terms. And then there was an interesting part where he said Jesus wasn't actually, Joshua wasn't actually, he uses prophets of Joshua wasn't crucified, like Pontius Pilate, right? Wanted to actually free him based, in service of the Quran. So I used that reference page. Here's the Quran talking about what's in the Bible, right? And the Ham and Kush I deal with on chapter 47. That's in the Bible. They know that. So here's your connection again to this history, right? Now we see. You know what I'm saying? Like this is Canaan. This is Canaan.
No, what
ways to segue this stuff because if you got that, you study.
What do you think makes them more receptive than the average? Because that seems like our brother one was always talking about the layers of the fraud or whatever. That sounds like a demographic of NBCs.
Yeah, a certain type of people.
Like a certain type of people,
right.
but from what you're talking about, they're actually receptive. They're not in denial like certain people, or they're, you know what I mean? So what do you think is making that connection for them?
It's because of me being who I am, right? Rosmarie talks about this fundamentals too. You gotta be what you are, right? So I'm not branching, right? I'm not trying to go to Omar, but guys that I respect for knowledge, but I had to kind of learn to be more of me, which was still connecting more, say, to that society, right? You know, even though I've been very about it for years, and I'm more like, I think some behaviors aren't necessarily the way I speak. I say it's the way I speak as compared to Junior. You're more, that's more like the way they speak, where some Moors who are more studied, they come out with the same principle, same idea. It sounds different. Like it's more that community. It's like having, say, the Patois, right? Like you listen to certain more speak, branch these individuals. That idea of changing our media, changing what we read. That's how I see that. Like there are reference points of change, so it sounds good, right? So I'm not necessarily there, but still kind of connected to them in the way I speak. You know, telling them about me too, you know, personal stuff like I was the Oreo cookie, right? So I married that side, so I lived that life, right? And then there's that, so they can see that okay, this guy comes off a little different, right? Like they work with it. You know, it's strange.
A lot of them are truth seekers too. They just don't have that option. Nobody presented them. A lot of their leaders have betrayed, their followers, and so the truth seeking is just misguided. Right? But their heart's still in the right place. They don't have that option. So it's amazing.
So saying it's the vibration. Maybe it's why they're more receptive. You know, whereas some brothers here have already been studied, and you're in a different spheres and different mind perceptions, like even your Quran. You always point out theirs. That's for sure. So I think giving them who I am or who I was helped, even though it may seem like it's it's like what's that Shakespeare Othello, right? That's kind of what I was looking for. So that's my angle. You know, I was a Pimento Bay. It's not an angle per se, but that was my introduction. That's one of the first books I read. And it was Othello. It was There's Me. You know, and going through all that stuff, and actually, you know, in the end, yeah, actually doing that on a different level. No.
Oh, sorry.
You know, I know another eye opener is Welcome to Canaanland with that Grand Chief orchestrated. You know, that's a very, very powerful book. You know, I know when I first came on into the movement stuff that I've been looking to figure out for 3 years, and been less than 3 weeks. Just whatever I was wrestling with, just kind of attend. And mentions all those books that you mentioned too, Black Hole, and things of that sort. Yeah. Well, you know, it's all for you being at the perfect place at the perfect time, and you having your energy to recognize the moment too.
Yeah, it's good to kind of come back into my own, like, as a being that yes, I've been doing some study is what it is, you know, whatever that is for me, you know, just be that. I've always been a certain way, so why am I trying to change? You know, the science is still what it is, you know what I mean? You know, the information is still what it is. Why am I trying to be somebody different? I need to be something different. You know, I just gotta be me, however that you mentioned it, right? So I don't know if that's what I don't know if you can define that really.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can define that. I'm trying to define it over certain experiences, right? That may be defined, but it's difficult to define why that works. And I'm sure that it works for other people as well. I don't know how what makes it work for them. But I'm just looking at some of the granular experiences that seem to reflect on my game. That's kind of me.
We should invite them to
Yes, Lord.
Honourable drill either.
Yeah, I will. I thought it was the ones that were asked. I'll definitely make sure. Actually, not officially. I'm gonna make sure. Yeah.
Was there anything else with that?
I talked about the birth certificate thing because you know they kind of believed in that system, right?
Yeah.
That's where they're at too in the mindset still. Explaining, you know, the same way I was taught it, the contract law. You know, no one actually knows how it's created per se. You didn't authorize it. The mother didn't authorize it. You know, so why are you chasing this thing that's got some money attached to it? Like you've all heard these stories that some of them kind of had a little bit of info on this thing, right? So you explain, well, you're chasing this thing, but you don't actually have some legal authority to be involved in it. So why are you claiming to be it? And more like yellow caps. Happens to me, you know, it's part of old woman law. It's been going on, but it's this law that's been there. It's a loss of rights, because you're not being who you're supposed to be. It's not nothing. And the word black. And that got some, that got some eyesight, some eye popping. Right? You got the look, right? Yeah. It's in the dictionary, right? Those are every non-dictionary.
So how?
And that was the other thing. I always told them, like, anything I say, don't take it as like you know something. Right? Go study. You have to study. I read that over and over as I went along just to make sure, because and at the end again, we're not going to go change anything. We're not going to go start. All right, because you're dumb, fine. You got to go study. Don't go do nothing. Just continue what you're doing. A few weeks before, it was the one with some tax issues, a mortgage thing.
Right.
And about taxes, and I said, she had said she's working with some professional, who's going to handle that for her. I'm not a lawyer, but some kind of account or some kind of legal aid type of thing. I'm not sure, but she had somebody who was doing some work for her, and so I sent her to RBA website. I got her information and gave her the site for mortgage fraud, and said, the idea is not to go any further into what you're into, but I'm not telling you not to do what you're going to do. I always think that clear in situations where you can't necessarily just jump on something else right now.
Right.
You need to continue what you're doing, but this is the information you're going to set. The idea is not to go any further in, the idea is to go the other way. And all these things, because they look nice, you think you're getting something, but you're losing every time.
It sounds like you went through a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, what is it, hour
I was
40?
just talking, it's over. Like you guys you all know this. To the hedges and highways, you all know this, You all know this. It was just my time.
Yeah. It's love. Got a couple audios to listen to. The first one is and of course we could put this in the context of Canada as well, but proof that you are not a U.S. citizen if you are not a so-called white person.
All right, let's give this thing a shot. I was watching a video yesterday, and this young lady told me to download an app. I was selecting a word in this legal dictionary, and the word, as you see, citizen. Very simple word. However, as we read about what a citizen is, well, right here is all your normal stuff. Let's click down a little bit deeper. Let's get into the actual definition of citizen. Citizen, persons, one who, under the Constitution and laws of the United States, have a right to vote for representatives in Congress and other public offices, and who is qualified to fill offices in the gift of the people. In a more extended sense, under the word citizen are included all white persons born in the United States. Okay, now let's continue to read. Let's see where this is going. And naturalized persons born out of the same, who have not lost their rights as such. This includes men and women and children.
And so we already know that with ourselves, we not going the citizen role. The citizen part, there's nothing to do with us unless they have American attached to it, or unless we're talking about citizens of our own stuff. That has nothing to do with anybody else. But general sense of citizen, we're not getting into us claiming to be that. They also made reference to born in the United States. And Moor's making the claim about Moors are citizens of the United States and all that. But you either naturalized or born in the United States to be a United States citizen. And we already know in the United States, Washington, D.C. is where the head office of Canada Corporation is.
United States. Such. This include men and women and children. Go back up there again. I included all white persons in the United States. What about the rest of the people? I thought all men were created equal. See, they're tricking us on a lot of stuff here. Let's go down here a little bit further, see what else they're talking about. Citizens are either born or naturalized. Okay. Native citizen may fill any office. Naturalized citizens may be.
Keep in mind too that native-born citizens can be United States citizens, but they're not saying native-born citizens may fill an office or whatever. They're saying native citizens. The born is not even part of it anymore. The born's not there anymore, right? Because they know that they're not talking with entities that are living, right? They're not talking about people. Once they start saying citizen, and then you have a small c opposed to a capitalized C. Just like if you have capitalized N on Negro, it still doesn't make that legit.
Elected or appointed to any office under the Constitution of the United States, except the office of President and Vice President. The Constitution provides that the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states.
So citizens have privileges, period. Once you're a citizen, rights don't apply. So don't start talking about rights. Don't start marching for rights, picketing for rights, whatever it is that they do for rights. Because as quote unquote citizen, you have no rights. You have privilege only.
And it can be taken away.
And it could be taken just because it's a privilege. It could be taken from you just because it's a privilege. Right?
Now we're talking about being a citizen of a state, but what about the American citizen? As we saw up here, when we start talking about total citizens, and they broke it down a little bit further, the only citizens of the United States will be white people. Is that right? Hold on, let's continue to read this. All natives are not citizens of the United States. What? All natives? What do you mean by all natives? Are you like taking half of the American Indians and half, or some and some are not? Let's see what else they're talking about.
No, because they were specific. All natives, all are not citizens. So if all natives are not citizens, how come these people ended up under Bureau of Indian Affairs and all these different European native whatever that is making them quote unquote citizens or making them be part of the establishment? Obviously, these people, just like the Negroes, didn't have their name. They were called Indian. So they created them, put them in a fiction box, and then now only fiction applies to them. And then they go again with saying that in section 2 of the definition, they're talking about native born, but then they're saying all natives are not citizens. So who are these native born people that they're saying are citizens? Because obviously native doesn't mean Aboriginal or indigenous in that sense when they say native. Was that Mark?
They're just creating multiplicity of jurisdictions
Exactly.
that are all really veiled in the corporate sort of construct of the language.
Yeah. And this is also the exemption from the privileges.
Right. It's the jumping in and out of it through the sort of denotative and connotative linguistics that they use, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the way we're using the actual sort of physical makeup of the actual words, right?
All natives are not citizens of the United States. Now, which natives are we talking about that are not citizens of the United States? Let's read a little further, see if it will explain itself. The descendants of Aborigines. Oh, so we had some Aborigine natives. Let's see if it explains what the Aborigines were. And those of African origin. What? Wait a minute. All natives are not citizens of the United States. The descendants of the Aborigines and those of African origin are not entitled to the rights of citizens.
No, I thought citizens had privileges. So how come they're talking about rights of citizens now? When it was really, they were really talking about privileges earlier. Right, and again, you know, flip-flopping in and out of jurisdictions to have people think that stuff really applies to them or whatever when it really doesn't apply. So these so-called people are our people that claim that they came from somewhere else on ships and all that stuff that they're doing for all these people getting shot up or whatever is useless. Because they don't have rights as citizens. They're not citizens of these quote unquote states or provinces that they're claiming that they're part of. So certain things don't even apply to them. Which is why, again, when you listen to MHHS and the mothers keep stressing the whole thing about the citizens and not falling for the trap that Noble Drew Ali said, I am a citizen of U.S.A on the back of the nationality card. Because if you're a citizen, that means privileges are applying to you. And you can't tell me that you're a Moor and you're talking about nationality and birth rights, but you're a citizen. How are you going to have birth rights if you're a citizen and rights don't apply to citizens?
So that's what jump back into the birth rights.
Right.
This is new time.
Yeah. Right. And that was one of the other questions I was in here with regard to him taking that action. But it's him basically saying that they're going to get rid of the 14th Amendment. Which, if they get rid of the 14th Amendment, that's right in line with King Alfred's plan of getting the Negroes out the way. Because if the thing that created them or if the thing that gives them rights gets abolished, what does that mean about them?
They become aliens.
Right? No. But then they're going to become aliens, right? They're going to get into whatever, but then they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's because of this video. Because people are realizing the fraud that's going on, especially when they're in certain positions and the people try to run fraud on them.
Outrage tonight over a judge. There is also outrage tonight over a judge's decision to release juveniles assigned to his courtroom the day after losing re-election. Fox 26 reporter Dominique Keith spoke today to the juvenile court manager, who says this is not really a big deal. She's live at the Harris County Juvenile Courthouse with more tonight. Dominique.
Yeah, Jonathan, juvenile court manager Cindy Milan says Judge Glenn Devlin had 32 juveniles on his docket yesterday. She says 13 of them were in custody and 7 were released. Now, although Milan says she could not immediately, at a moment's notice, release proof, but she says this is average and routine. This is what happens every day in a juvenile courtroom. Now, average or not, normal or not, the ACLU is asking the state to look into claims that Judge Devlin released every inmate in his custody except for one. What exactly happened here inside this 313th Harris County Juvenile Courtroom the day after Judge Glenn Devlin, seen here on his webpage, and 58 other Republican judges lost in the election?
When I arrived, there was already word that kids were being released.
Stephen Halpert, chief of the Juvenile Division for the Harris County Public Defender's Office, says in 15 years he's never seen Judge Devlin ask a juvenile who was in custody.
If he was to be released, would he kill anybody?
Halpert says he heard the judge ask that at least twice, including to his client. He says typically there's a lot of discussion about why the juvenile should not remain in custody, but not this time.
Judge Devlin was intent on asking my juvenile the same question that was asked.
What question was that?
That was, if I release you, will you kill anybody? And of course, my juvenile said no. And he said released. He made the comment that this is what the voters wanted. He was upset. And I guess interpreting what the election results were, that the voters wanted Democratic judges who are going to release these kids.
4 of the juveniles released to leave the detention center pending their trial were in custody for aggravated robbery. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg released a statement saying, "We oppose the wholesale release of violent offenders at any age. This could endanger the public."
Of course, it's dangerous. I mean, come on now. Every case has to be adjudicated or assessed individually. You know, you just can't say, okay, today everybody's set free.
Now, if the Texas Commission on Judicial Conduct does agree to investigate these claims against Judge Devlin, we won't know about it because the commission does not release that information. They will only release if a judge is punished. We're live in downtown Houston. I'm Dominique Keith.
Any comments on that? So,
They got you free all the black guys.
whoever it was, that was quote unquote locked up. He didn't get reelected. Right? And then remember, from the citizen whatever perspective, that judge is a Republican that did that. Yeah. Right? That was a Republican judge that did that.
Yeah, sure.
So that's putting in the air, you know, that the whole prison industrial complex and kidnap people or whatever like that's a fraud, because they can let go anybody anytime. Ain't nobody could get held for anything. They said they had violent ones, violent juveniles that they let go. That means they can do that. And we're not talking about even the violent people. We're talking about the people who are in there that shouldn't even be in there. We're talking about people who got weed charged right now that all their stuff should be wiped out clean slate, just because it's legal. Regardless of what they did, whether they got charged or not. Right?
So in a sense, he's more or less exposing their little circle of how things are ran.
Yeah. Yeah. No, which
fight or you know.
And they're gonna talk their thing about danger to the community because he's letting violent people go and whatever like that. But that's not what they're outraged over. They're outraged over he's baiting up their whole stuff.
Yeah. And at the same time, I know the word ask is when you ask someone, yeah, and at the same time, when you question someone, you're sentencing. So you, as the judge, questioning one who is a kid, that's reverse psychology.
Yeah. All right, so that judge didn't get reelected. Now there's we're talking on the way up here about the notice of hearing about judicial conduct for this quote-unquote black judge by the name of McLeod. So actually, let me try to find it. So this man is supposed to be, let me see if I find this thing, but they have a petition. So a brother I know sent me this petition. We support the total dismissal of all allegations against Honorable Justice Donald McLeod. 2,700 people signed. They're looking for 5,000 signatures.
You what?
Support the total dismissal of all allegations against Honorable Justice Donald McLeod, who's a brother. Justice Donald McLeod of the Ontario Court of Justice is a revered, reputable leader in the African, Caribbean, Black Canadians communities across Canada and has taken a courageous stance to advance in a non-partisan way the issues that affect ACBC people. African, Caribbean, Black Canadians, ACBC people. That's the one now, ACBC people.
Sounds like a disco band.
We reject completely allegations to be heard at Justice McLeod's upcoming November 30th hearing that Justice McLeod, in founding the national Nonprofit Foundation of Black Canadians, FBC, or in serving as chair of its steering committee, misused his judicial position or engaged in misconduct. We support his commitment to aid positive change in the futures of our current and upcoming generations and his vision of Canada where all of its citizens, they're citizens again, have the right to self-determination and equal power to manifest their destiny. In our view, the allegations undermine trust between the community and our public institutions and are particularly troubling given the adoption by Canada and Ontario of the United Nations International Decade for the People of African Descent, particularly given its themes of development, recognition, and justice. We are deeply concerned that the allegations misconceive the important and appropriate role that Black leaders, including judges, can play in their communities. All right, so that's the petition going around. And the judicial misconduct violations are Court of Justice Act, Section 51. The Ontario Judicial Council will conduct a hearing into a complaint about the conduct of the Honourable Justice Donald McLeod. The complaint was investigated by a two-person complaint subcommittee consisting of a judge and a community member. The hearing was ordered by a review panel that included two judges, a lawyer, member, and community member. The hearing panel will be composed of a judge of the Court of Appeal of Ontario, who will chair the panel, a judge of the Ontario Court of Justice, a law member, and a community member. Hearings of the Judicial Council are normally held in public, and the dates and times of the hearings are posted on the council's website. The hearing commences whether the hearing panel will consider whether the alleged conduct as summarized below and set out more fully in the notice of hearing occurred and constituted judicial misconduct. While presiding full-time as a judge of the Ontario Court of Justice, His Honor founded, led, and served as chair of the steering committee for the organization called the Federation of Black Canadians, FBC, a national nonprofit organization that meets the government representatives to advocate for legal and social reform on behalf of Black Canadians. His Honor failed to uphold the integrity, impartiality, and independence of the judiciary when he communicated with and met with politicians on behalf of FBC, inappropriately used the power and prestige of his judicial office to advance the interests of the FBC and lend the prestige of the judicial office to the FBC fundraising. After concluding its hearing of the matter pursuant to Section 51, the Courts of Justice Act, the hearing panel may dismiss the complaint with or without a finding that is unfounded, or if it upholds the complaint, it may decide upon any one of the following sanctions singly or a combination: warn the judge, reprimand the judge, order the judge to apologize to the complainant or to any other person, order the judge to take specified measures such as receiving education or treatment as a condition of continuing to sit as a judge, suspend the judge with pay for any period, suspend the judge without pay but with benefits for a period up to 30 days. Yeah, Court of Justice Act is what they're using as the quote-unquote law.
So the group that you set up was trying to empower Black
Canadians. Yeah.
And he's a judge, so his oath of office is to that association.
Right.
He's doing something.
He has exactly, and he took the position like what El Haj took, that, you know, I'm gonna go over here and help my people, whatever, but, you know, honors to Elijah Muhammad and whatever like that, and honors to all the stuff before that I was part of and all that stuff, when he knew all that was BS. Why don't you just sever ties and go over here and do what it is that you're gonna do? Don't straddle the fence with it, especially knowing that you got oath, you got certain stuff, you know what I mean, that you're obligated to the corps that you're contracted to. You're not obligated to the people if you're an officer of the court. Right? And being that he's not just an officer of the court, but he's actually on the bench. He can sway votes, right? He can do certain things with that power. Like that's why they're talking about, you know, him misusing his power, because those connections are only supposed to be used inside of the legal whatever. You're not supposed to take those connections outside and then try to empower outside people with the powers that, quote unquote, you having honorable on your name is going to give you. Because that's not his, quote unquote, right to use that power. That's a privilege granted to him. Because he's going from a position that he's a citizen of here. Well, how are you talking about you're a citizen of here when you're talking about some organization for Africans, which they ain't from here. You can't be you can't claim citizen anything.
Yeah, but they, all the same, when it comes to the so-called justice system here in this part of the world, they can be as arbitrary as they want to be, Like, when you look at the case of Mumia Abu Jamal, who's been languaging in prison for the last 40 years or whatever, there's the, one of the justices that's denying his parole was also the DA at the time of his arrest, and that's a conflict of interest right there.
Right.
But they're allowed to get away with their shit.
Right.
And they can do it for as long as they want to. But certain people can't do certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
But and that's because that's their jurisdiction that they set up.
Exactly.
We're only they get their pass, and their people get their pass, and everybody else has to suffer because we're going to feed off of everybody else's suffering.
But that's the whole thing. This has nothing to do with actual justice. That's just a facade, really. But people read what they read in the newspapers, and they think that they're getting the truth all the time.
It's like Harvey Weinstein in both houses.
Yep. Yep.
This is the brother that one I just mentioned. Read 9 books in prison to expose the system.
But that man has gotten the shaft. Him and the movement of the Panthers and all these people, they've gotten the shaft consistently for the last 4 decades. And nobody seems to give a rat's ass.
Yeah. Yeah, but if their position is their Negro, black, colored, and all that, then that's what you get. Like, you don't complain. That's what you get. You shouldn't be Negro. If you were a Negro, it wouldn't be going down like that.
What's his main focus? Is he like writing books on what exactly?
On the injustice that pervades our world, and things like that. Yeah. Whatever's going on, current events, that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's a journalist.
He was a journalist when he was arrested. He wrote for the Philadelphia Inquirer, but he was also part of the Black Panthers. But he had actually, I think, stopped being a Panther, and there was a policeman that was shot and killed, and anybody with half a brain could look at the evidence and know he wasn't guilty, but he's a martyr, right? So they have to
take that marker. That's a Sharpie.
Yeah. So they can't let him out, because then it's like they have to admit their culpability and all that.
You want to put something in the
Yeah, also I just wanted to forward that the last class somebody read the definition of civility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you go from that perspective, look at the word city and citizen, then you work with the word civilization and the definition of civility. I don't know if anybody has
Civilian?
The tails are. Yeah, the civilian definition.
All right, folks, bring your arts and crafts over here. School is in session. So, a couple of chairs.
So you got control. I cannot find civilian. Civilian. One who is skilled or versed in the civil law. Doctor.
right there. That's telling you something, right? A big difference. Citizen, when that definition of citizen has no requirements.
To know. Yeah.
And to let that be in that category, you can kind of have what you want, have your way, when you're not a civilian. It's a system that they put in place for their citizens. But if you're, the concept is that more, you're a civilian. If you're a Moor and you don't want to be a civilian, then unfortunately, that just comes with your complexion. That comes with your blood. Right? You have no choice but to learn civil law, because civil law is law of civilization. It's not like we're telling you to learn rocket science, or we're telling you to learn codes and statutes, so you're being forced to learn something complex. The concept is learn. The law is necessary for civilization. You can't learn that, you're not really welcome in this society.
Well, that's where it's the state that we're in right now. Moving this way from the show to the
right, so they can't be assumed as part of a civil society. So if you're not part of a civil society, you become subject of all other right, and some
this way. This way. So away from that, in case they move their chair back a little.
Whoever agenda you can get to, see the definition.
Yes, your point though?
Oh, yeah, please do this guy.
How do you feel when they can go again.
Still, civilian. One who is still versed in the civil law. A doctor, a professor, or a student of the civil law. Also, a private citizen, as distinguished from such as belong to the Army and Navy or the church.
That's the full definition.
Mine's a little different.
Yeah, what you got?
Civilian was renowned from the 14th century. Says number one is a specialist in Roman or modern civil law, so that's basically the same as this said. And it says two, one not on active duty in the armed services, not on police or a firefighting force. Then it says like be like an outsider. Then it also says, oh that's a different word. Then, yeah.
That one has to be civil, that's not Roman. Civil law is Roman.
Yeah, Roman civil law, which means that the law that we, the Moors, not the imperial one.
And it says Roman or modern civil law.
Rome Republic is the Moorish concept established in Europe. And then Rome, 500 years later, the empire.
And if I may add also, it says, one who is still versed in the civil law. So, you know that is verse.
Yeah, but remember, if we say if the concept of civil law, there is no distinct, there's no difference. As long as it's human beings, and there's only one way to be civil. There's no, why slap this guy's sister in the face and walk away. And, well, in this culture, it's okay, and in that culture, no, it's not okay anywhere. It's civilization. Certain things just can't go on.
But if you're moving under the divine, you should not have to be taught how to be civil. We're not going to call it civil.
Right, which is why it's not necessary. Which is why it's not necessary. You understand it's not necessary to go to their voice.
But I think
from you're a civilian, that's it.
I think what's going on with a lot of these distinctions that are happening is they are countering all of the tomfoolery that's been going on through all of the dictionary. Calling attention to this being part of the jure, of the facto. We're making that distinction. We'll have other civil laws that are somewhat compromised. That's where I see that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, where it's like custom law versus canon law. In terms of civil, there's more than one type of civil.
Yeah, and that's true. Like, it's perspective that guys are acting, soldiers or whatever, or police or firefighters, like that definition says. If they're talking about someone who doesn't work for any of those services, you'll use that term. They might not know what your status is, but because you're not a soldier, firefighter, or policeman, and to them you're a civilian. Right? Well, what I saw talking to this guy that they he's just a civilian. I mean, he's not one of us, not a soldier, or not a soldier, a firefighter, or a policeman. But in reality, definitions, right? Both of those definitions, that's the law, that's law, right? And that's the language dictionary.
The Webster.
The first part of the definition has to do with knowing civil law. But in other words, once you know it now, you're a civilian. Right? If you don't know it, then you could end up being
a citizen or an alien or
something else.
Right.
Because being a citizen is not guaranteed either.
Right.
Trump is trying, and then if it's not guaranteed that you're a citizen, but you also don't know law, civil law, then where are you?
Yeah.
Which and you have to be, because what you're telling them is, no, I don't know how to be civilized, but I'm also not part of this membership group over here where being civilized is not necessary because they have police and they have signs and they have guns and they'll put you in check even if you're not civilized. But you're not giving them a choice. They gotta do something. Because they don't know if you're civilized. You're pretending to be civilized for the past 30 years and then they don't know what crazy thoughts are going through your head. Right? It's only normal.
So this term civic,
civilian, yeah.
They use it on everybody.
No, but in reality now, and like in modern times they don't use that term anymore. Socially we use it. In the past, if you're in grandparents' era, you would say civilian. But you notice they don't. I've never seen it written down in any official so-called government factor. Everything is citizenship. Right?
Citizenry.
Or a member of this public. Citizenry. You don't see civilians.
Weird.
Right? When I heard it.
Yes, it's only in that context that, yeah.
Before they used to,
Yeah. Yeah.
When anybody was in the I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it really was. They used to use the league civilian civilian was now, but they were using it for it wasn't either. And then, but also, like I said, when you break it down, CID is relative to CID civilization. But CIT citizen is relative to city.
City, yeah.
Oh, you live in a city. You reside in a city. You have an address, so you're just a member of a community.
Yeah.
You're not living a final status, you just your body is physically there. Okay?
Oh, I know. Whenever a civilian is before just house, it's like there's a hostile situation and like there's a crash or there's a fire or an accident or a fire. And the police or whoever comes, the people right here at the scene, they're like on business or whatever and get caught up in the thing, they're civilians.
Yeah, that was relative to the language definition. The language definition says that if you're not army or police or firefighter.
Yeah, but at the present moment, there has to be a situation for those people to be there when they're civilians just walking normally, right?
That's what I mean. Bringing those duty men or women into proximity with people who are
yeah.
So in other words, you have to, because it's an emergency. So in other words, you have to make this thing. You're not going to transfer and say, yo, you don't need to be here right now. You need to just roll down. You need to get a statement from you. That's why it's properly deal with the matter. The fact of the sure or otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's an emergency. Things have to be dealt with. Right? So there has to be a distinction has to be made between someone who's on leave and somebody who just maybe you're going to work. Who cares?
Yeah.
You sell French fries. It's not like if the French fry shop doesn't open in the next 2 hours. It's not nobody's gonna get hurt. But right now, this person leading up to that, we need to get them to the hospital and know what happened. Right, so,
Young projects more, going to knowledge more, back. I think what I'm seeing is that they have to see the distinction for themselves. In order to see it, they have to know what it is that everybody is saying you should be, and then know really who you are and present them.
But they have to value it, though. They have to value it before they actually go and provide it. So we have to value it.
there's nothing because you just be walking around saying, no, but not. It's like when I heard that, like, it stuck with me from class. I didn't end up whatever that did. I value it. You know, like, yourself. Right? But that, you gotta get them past that point of even, well, that's just, you know, like, if they're still on that level, then it's not gonna, you're not gonna appreciate the way we're appreciating right now. Unfortunately. Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, people are acting on these definitions as right now. When they make them, like I said, when they write up posters or make money coming out of the classroom, they're not putting civilian on it. A member of the public, putting people, you know, residents.
You got some more?
I'm just something came to me that as we're talking about that, the very basis of the word is differentiating from those certain tasks that you have to do, the environment and the what I'm saying is that ultimately there's a baseline that all civilians are to be met. Something. Right now, that would be on the streets right now. That also probably, because I tried to say something Cyril talked about before the European came here, lawless here. We need laws. Those things, some of those definitions that came out of the process of interaction. We need to be defined like that. We were defined. There's some definition of what's holding us to this.
Yeah, right. But like I brought up. That's why I brought up the historical Roman.
No, I agree.
Yes. Roman.
Right, but that all is in conjunction in my mind with the fact that there is this sort of rift. And then really what it is a civilian is a man who's like this to be back to the lawless nature where we might be in the fire right now. Some of us would have to take on a role. All of us would have a role because we're military. I was sensing a military back into all of this. That's sort of what it is. Right? That sort of seems to be a jurisdiction that has to do with being confident. Right? The very nature of that seems to be that there is something that you have to protect against someone.
Yeah.
So there's some force that's outside, and that's where I think we dropped. We lost that. We don't have that. You know, we call it the militia. The basic people who just come out of the streets or the mix and stuff and protect themselves. The battle's now taken to a different level. The battle really being waged in words. Right.
And that's
where it is, and that's me and Kudo were talking exactly. Me and Kudo were talking about this. The reason why we're in the state we're in is because we're calling ourselves black. Yeah, first it's the frequency alone. And the reason why they're doing so well is because they're calling themselves white. It's the spirit behind it. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm saying that. But I'm saying that we've been doing it in the mind up until we sort of woke up. Yeah. Right? Unconsciously. How many people then you try and break that down? They're not white. And we're talking about you that you're crazy and that we're black because of this. Right?
And it's remarkably said, but it's remarkably said. Because I also see that, there's a lot. When there's a lot. Like we are people who are courageous, we're fearless, we're brave. I remember when my mother, I remember as a youth, my mother used to tell me, listen, anyhow you come home, you get beat up, I'm gonna send you back out there. Right. Make sure you don't. No, I hear my mom. Oh no, not now, but as I got older, my mother get teenager, tell somebody first. I'm like, what? How did I switch up? So there's a lot.
But I'll tell you what that was a lifetime of battles. I think you see all the mothers when they come out of this, there's that ferociousness that makes them that thing that brings life into this world. Ultimately, a lifetime of being beaten down usually will have that you go out there and fight the man, and you'll probably end up in jail for about 10 years. That's not cool. You see what I'm saying? So it might bring out something that deep down there that's supposed to be a common knowledge. Well, that would come from a community. One man is more than likely to make that change alone. That's what has been missing in all of this. right? We've been calling ourselves black, the very nature of black separates us, right? So that's why we've never gotten it. That's why this is the answer. We're reclaiming our ancient energy models in this, right?
You know, I want to touch on back on that point, you know, as far as in black, sometimes we as a people just confuse darkness with black. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Darkness is dark for the light. You know, so it's like we have to get back to our own confidence. You know, strengthen our own mind and bring forth the faith, and then once we do that, and hopefully we already done paved the way according to the way of Allah.
But I want to, some of the stuff that Hugo and I have been talking about earlier, right? Just some of the stuff we're doing music. There's enough of us here who've been here for a couple of years right now.
So I talk up a little more.
I said there's enough of us who've been here like a couple of years right now, right? Meeting every Sunday, coming out to these things. And we think this is where we're supposed to be. Is this the end of it for us?
But this is not the end.
So very good. So this may be the beginning, but what's next now?
We all have to answer that for our own.
What I'm saying, are we communicating on what that is? What is it to you? What is next for you?
What's next? What I see, what's next for me?
Well,
the generation. What I
in
see,
terms of the nation and that.
what I see, what's next for me, the generation of coaches. Generation, right? The generation to come, but the generation to come, they're not right. Like they're not bringing nothing new. You know, when I say they're not bringing nothing new, it's going to be different to us. And this is what I realized that it's almost important because the elder generation and the younger generation, there's no continuity there. You know, so it's not because the reason why I'm saying that is because the other generation, they can't really quite get from the perspective of how the younger generation is dealing with certain things. And the younger generation is not choosing to hear anything what the other generation is saying because they feel like the other generation went on through something at a point in their time and they don't know this stuff. Oh, they don't know what it is. The peer pressure that they're going on,
That's not so common. That's more like a common.
Yeah, because that's what we have to say.
That's what I used to say. I never wanted to do something, and that's what my father said.
That's exactly why I say there's nothing, you know, they're not bringing nothing.
That's how our drones, that's not always happening.
I want to also come back.
You know, maybe my hearing is not part of it.
No, I think you're right. Make it wrong. No, you get off to what he's saying. No, but I want to come back off to what you said because interesting enough, I just connected with my family and I separated from them. The fact that, like you're talking about, as a younger generation, I saw what my mother, she was a Moor, was about. She teaches Black history. She teaches all of these things that were supposed to empower us. And I'll bring 2 weeks from now this poster she has of her, a whole bunch of people marching for down with the deportation laws or immigration laws here. And I have it, between 7 or 8. This is 40 so odd years ago for this fight for whatever. And we're still in the exact same place we are 40 years later. It's the same thing. So ultimately, nothing has changed. And we are absolutely all on the same page, but it's the wrong page. And the real issue is that we are at odds with our parents. Our parents now don't want to spend, they're not partying anymore. They're not going to go spend any time. They've been conditioned. That's why there's a difference now. There's a little bit of rawness with us. But it's no different. But the boot is still in our throat. Because hopefully what's happening is we see a light now. If we're grasping onto that knowledge, we're on that true path. It's finding that light. We're not off on all the other games. That's the only difference right now. We're still at that same spot.
You know, I want to, there's nothing to that, because
I'll bring it to you next week. You'll see 40 years later, we're still here. Right here.
You know, it's not that because I see that what the condition really has done is what the really thing was presented to do. Put fear where the men are not themselves as sons of a mother.
Well, and also to break the mother and son up as well.
You know, and
that's
the mother, I'm not insult to the empresses and daughters. And send it something else.
Let's be honest, this is the problem, it's that chicken and egg, thing, which is first, there is no first, there's the duality, there's the oneness, that we come back to. Until that happens, until we mend ourselves and our families, we're going to be in the same spot. But it starts with us mending ourselves. I mean, listen, we're too many gods in this room for this to ever fail. You better know that. And it won't fail. So I don't know. Let's just get on and start doing it. Let's do it in an intelligent fashion. We built this place. Yeah. Why are we floundering around right now?
That's all I want to ask you. You're just saying, what do you think is next? Or what's next for us to come? So I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Well, what I would see and this is why I see it as being a multiplicity of angles. What it is we're heading towards the direction. Ryan wrote, or I think had a day where he recited some of this stuff. My brother had brought me his teachings, The Art of Peace. And what it says is that the summit is love, and there are many paths to that summit. So I'm not going to be able to draw you on a map that's going to show you the exact moves, the left, the right, the whatever. What I'm saying is there's light over there, and I'm heading towards that light, so to speak. And then what I would see specifically being different, if you want to see the nuts and bolts of this, is the fact that we're going to take this small unit we right now have and sort of meets up every Sunday, and I've seen you for Cabana. The same way you have your boys, and you know how they're doing. You know your boys, you're probably talking right now, and probably with this girl and spam and all that stuff. Until we get to that kind of tightness, until we become that unification, I was talking to him, it was you about secret societies. You see on the thing where everyone's in the black robes or whatever, really, they're all tight. Until we get to that level of that kind of thing, or that's the next level we have to get to. So we're that family. There's no one walking on the street. There's no one without whatever. That's where I would see this getting, and that's where the cultural part of it. You're not hanging out with the enemy.
We have to also be mindful that those secret societies are holding like there's some secrets.
No, but you're missing the whole point. The secret society is our knowledge that we gave to them, that they're keeping from us, from the perspective that if we ever get it back, it's over for.
Okay, I'm gonna rearrange the wording. I'm not taking away what you're saying. I agree what you're saying. The secret societies are holding like there's some secrets because the people that don't know themselves and they're painting the image for the people's mind, like they're feeding stuff into people's mind that the people are thinking that they need those foods to eat. They need those foods to be nourished, but that's the secret.
No, but here's where you're wrong.
No, but that's not.
No, but that's sorry. But here's where you see to me you're sort of focused. I would say this again, you're focused on the fruit on the tree, not the very tree itself. The tree is the knowledge. And it's the knowledge of what's really happening and going on that they're utilizing to move themselves forward while telling you that that's not how it is and keeping that secret from you. And that's why you're off. There is no secret to it. The secret is the knowledge that they have. And the knowledge isn't secret. It's the fact that they're keeping it from you that's the secret. So, they're not letting you know that that's the tree. Yes.
The tree is there, but there's good fruits and bad fruits, and the same one.
That's right.
Same one.
Right. And like Taj says, the sun shines right on both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And also there has to be the good and the bad.
Like you go on the tree, you know where you could cook green mango, but the one that we want right now is that we green going on. Green mango sometimes they're bad, but the rest one you're good to go. So you go cook that one, you're ready to go do something. But this one is ready. So coming out of the same tree.
But I also look at it from the perspective, and this is why they use the term, they use the analogy of the tree and the roots, and the way that the tree grew naturally. They're saying there was not going to be some jump, some supernatural jump that was going to happen. It was going to be like what's called fractal geometry. Everything is going to grow off of itself, right? And that's us building, practicing a new culture, a new life, a new world.
Islam.
So as you say, if you would see what I want to do, that's something. So just so this can segue briefly into where we're going from this. We're looking to do another sort of round of communication with everyone to see where we're at, where we want to go, how we see that happening.
Well, you brought it up. I think the more divine national movement really says it all. That's like, it's not, the more divine national movement is not for a more to teach another more, but the more divine national movement.
We want to say each one teach one. I didn't know this until I came across it.
But what my point is, me saying that, I'm not expecting no other to save me.
That's a different word, saving and
I'm not expecting another to go out there and sacrifice. And I'm not gonna do that.
I'll say this. I would feel, and I thought about this. If someone said to me, hey, Omar, if you give your life to see this nation move forward, if I could be assured of that, I would sort of way. Yeah, it would take me. So at this point, right now, I would.
That's some devil right there. No. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I agree with you. I get what you're saying. I agree with you. I disagree with the wording that you use. But I agree with what you're saying. But when you talk that we're all one, there's no giving life. This is, I am flesh and blood. It's different from I am a flesh and blood. Because y'all, I am. Okay. So there's no we giving up no flesh and say, oh yeah, that's it. Period. Nah. I'm agreeing with him. I'm agreeing with him.
From a perspective, here's another parent. Their child, supposedly in this room right now, but why would you even do that? Because what you're saying right there is, hey, I'm my own person, so why would you give your life for your child?
The same way same reason why I agree. And continue to agree then.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Remember too, like in civil law, there's no killing of the person. And the whole concept, like we're talking about the movement, the purpose of the movement is the uniting of Asians. Like, the purpose of the movement is not uplifting black people or teaching black people anything. The purpose of the movement is the uniting of Asians. And the prophet said you have to go to teach, you have to feed the world with information and knowledge to bring them back, because they live in corporate, de facto so-called republics and democracies now, where those generations who are born there now, historically, yeah, they know who we are, but they don't know civil law anymore because their benefit to not only them, their family, their community, and their country comes in a purely de facto essence of everything, economy, everything. So that's one reason why I don't do the comparison of, the Asians do this and we should rate it because they live in their own de facto. So when they're colonized, our children and our grandchildren have to go and teach them, there's civil law. There's this thing called civil law, completely outside of this de facto law, completely outside of code statutes. There's this thing called the Constitution. There's this thing called the Republic. A republic is what you don't want. Remember Arab Spring? And in the Arab Spring, I was in university. I told my friends from other countries, don't be asking for democracy. And they weren't hearing me. They weren't listening. Watched on the news what happened. Saw these protests, and some people said they were staging. Probably some of them were. But regardless, if their concern was to the things that they were talking about, as so-called Arab people or North African people or whatever, to have more freedoms and so on and so forth, then don't ask for democracy, because when you ask for democracy, you put that and it's broadcast on TV all around the world. That's going to give the U.S. de facto army the right, the reason, the excuse to come into your land and enforce their own way. What you want is a republic, but they didn't. You know what I mean? They weren't. It's not like they weren't really getting it. And any generation coming, like my age or younger, They'll have the intelligence, they'll have the historical information, but they're not gonna have the lawful perspective, the civics. And, you know, we can teach each other civics all day till the cows come home. But the prophet said it's to take that and bring it out and teach the world. If you we're rolling down the street in so-called Canada, no license, no registration, no sticker, you know what I mean? And you got all that dropped, you got your thing dropped, you got your thing dropped. You think in other countries they would even have, in most places they have a concept of like, what do you mean you went on your own and presented things and told them your status and told them your business and they don't have jurisdiction? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Like a Chinese in China is looking at you like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like they have nationality. But the thing that they're going to be missing from now and moving forward in time is the civics. Well, it's going to be on us to teach them if they're going to want to, if we're going to complete the mission of the movement.
Yep.
Right, the Uniting of Nations.
Which again goes back.
We're not lacking in everything. There's certain things that we've been given abundance of, and that's the knowledge of the science. And when it comes to studying, just for the sake of studying, like in modern times, not just here, but around the world, nobody just studying for the sake of studying. We're going hard as Moors. You know what I mean? And that's building something. Like Kubena said in the beginning, he didn't realize an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of information again. He was looking at it like, oh my, and then he got in there, and 2 hours later, like he could keep going, right? Because you don't realize what you have until you teach it to others. You know, others who need it.
Brother, you mentioned something that if I may like to highlight nationality issue because I know over here, institutions are not talking about nationalities. On the university, it's not talking about nationality. So the question is that happening in the Philippines? Is that happening in
those places are just quiet. Those places, there's a small group of people who runs the show, just like here, except because of what the ancestors did here, we can sit here and just chat and whatever, and because Raleigh and CMA had a focus on civics and us had a focus on civics, then we know civil law. If you know civil law, you know that status is the first issue. If you know status is the first issue, and your status is in your blood and it can't be taken away, then all you need to do is present that more times. Especially in a society that wants to go itself one of the best countries in the world, the rate they take and build that reputation, then we can sit here and we're not worried about it. It's my country. Yeah. Right? In certain places you can't do that. For certain places they could have done it, but they lost the opportunity because they focused maybe on economics. Or they focused on this piece of land that's special to the ancestors. They focused on nuclear power, they focused on something else. So yeah, they got stuff out of it. But a lot of they missed the boat. They missed the boat when it comes to civics. That's our mission. To teach our brothers and sisters around the world civics.
So when we all know that, there's still some more work that got to be done.
That's my point. That's how much work that will be done. Like until when we have everything we want here, for instance, we have a castle out in up north, and we have condos downtown, and we have whatever. We haven't even started the mission. I mean, that's the starting line. Having all that stuff is the starting line.
I would even say starting. Yeah, I would say that's not even the starting line. That's the end of it. The real beginning of it is the spirit part of it, where we bring ourselves back to that. That would be the spoils that we get. We're not starting off with that stuff. One of my opinion, what it's going to take is us coming together, like every other culture does, every other nation does, have developed in their nations. Where you have that sort of lineage, you have the royalty and all that stuff. That's all the breakdown stuff. Or at least that was kept within their culture, in my opinion. We're the only ones who are being ruled by someone else.
Everyone else rules themselves.
No, but that's my difference. We're not actually being ruled by someone else.
Well, we're
Because someone else can never rule in civil law. Another nationality can never rule another nation. That's against civil law.
You know what, brother, I also see that, you know, we should not be, we're divine, we should not be dealing with each other. All cities, we should only deal with each other, we should only deal with cities, we deal with other nations, other nations.
You should be dealing with civics as long as we respect.
So like, that's, as long as we're people, but we, yes, we're dealing with flesh, absolutely. But we know that we're divine. Flesh has nothing to do with divine. Spiritual law. We're not dealing with the letter of the law, we're dealing with the spirit of the law. The divine law, which is the natural law. That's why the root word of nation is not one of the same.
Civic have anything to do with civil or civilization? Exactly. So we have to do with civic.
I'm not saying that we have to be, I'm not saying, but the saying was we are the beginning of civilization, but we've been here before civilization.
The whole thing was only dealing with when we interact with other people.
Civilization.
Only dealing with when we interact with other people is the whole concept. That's the whole thing that gets us into the mindset of, oh, this is the world. Like this, like the land that we're on right now, this is the world. And then somebody tells you, oh, you know, there's a place over there called Africa and Europe. And you know, there's a place called Africa and Europe. And if I go across the water really far beyond where my eyes can see, I'm gonna reach another land. I don't believe you. Like that, because you're telling me that if I go over there now I have to remember all those civil laws so that I can drive. Of course you do. So you're still on the planet.
Well, civilization doesn't mean population. Doesn't mean like people, like you're saying, like we're here before civilization. That doesn't really make sense because civilization means like there was civilization and then there was maybe people were dealing with savages. Like civilization means you're dealing with life and the things of life in a certain conduct, conducting in a certain manner, where it's like everybody is pretty much equal. You know, that's civilization. Anything else is uncivil.
The reason why I'm saying that has not happened to be taught. If we know that from the very beginning, we know that from the very beginning, that does not have to be taught. If I'm dealing with fairness, equality, that does not have to be taught. If we're dealing with other nations, I'm saying, civilization. So, we were part of civilization.
Well, and I might counter that. I look at it from different ways. Not untaught. The indoctrination of the savagery that has been taught to bring ourselves back to the civilization.
Yeah, so that's, but
you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm doing with that. I'm not taking away. So right now we're looking at savagery.
I'm only going from the point that once we are established, an established civilization, because guys, from that point on, then that does not have to be taught. If we are established, that's so far ahead. I know that's fine. I'm not saying that.
There's people out there that are seeing that are actually divine beings. They don't even know that. But we just have to focus on the higher self. The divine being is also so just being divine in itself isn't enough. Sometimes you have to strengthen the higher self of your divinity.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there's something that has to be done before that Omar said it's for each of us to prepare ourselves and to know ourselves, to study ourselves. And if you know yourself enough that you know how you're going to get to, Barcelona, Spain, Al-Andalus, and you're going to talk to the people there and teach them whatever, then do that. You know how you're going to get to South Africa and tell them, stop the blackness, but you're not going to get anywhere with that. Then you can do that. And in doing that, you're engaging in civics and you're studying civics. Civics is going to be on your mind, it's going to be on your lips, and you're going to be teaching them civics. Because they've gone so far and actually established this without civics. So, go on YouTube and watch their parliament. and they argue back and forth. Waste out, like, just arguing in parliament. And like childish stuff. Childish stuff. And when you think about it and realize, wait a second. That's the government.
Civic sometimes isn't only that's just also keeping a light heart. You're saying something more of a light heart when you're taught how to mold that, and some people take advantage of that. Just listening to your heart, keep that light, and understanding something more than you. So balance, you know.
But as we can see this, we see one of the where this all sort of stemmed from is me asking where we see this moving a year from now. Remember, so we can see how much thought and energy is generated out of that in a positive way. And just to let you guys know that we're looking at this point, we're looking at, new stuff springing forth. There has to be the next step. This meeting, I was saying, who do this or someone, meeting every Sunday, we may as well go to church. Right? We're just going to come here for 3 hours and do this and then go back and whatever. This could be construed as another form of sort of church. I mean, it is church from that perspective. But what I'm saying is, what are the next steps? We have to not be afraid of the next steps.
But we need to be asking that. If we don't know, if we know that is unnecessary, then why not do? Why are we asking if we don't need more? We don't need no permission from no other more to go do what we want to do. Obviously, fine. We should not be asking. We know. If I got love in my heart, I'm not going to say, yo, can I go and express love to those? I'm just going to do it. Just be the being. That's just natural.
Well, I would agree with you. And I think that there was a time when that was already. I think we have fallen such that we have to come back through those things, including civics, civilization, all community, all of those things. That's how I'm seeing this. Most of us, sorry to just jump in, most of us are still calling ourselves black. If this is the nation right here, we've got 25, we've got 16 people here that represent the Moorish nation. Is that not crazy?
But fam, I just want to be real quick. I'm not talking about us. And we keep talking about us. Forget us. We here. So he's talking about us. We don't realize who we are right now. We're the United Nations right now. If we're the real United Nations, and we're talking about what we need and how much further we have to go, it's not about that. There's people out there who are dying and suffering. We don't even get an opportunity to learn this stuff. Like we're here to prepare ourselves to go teach them, or prepare them to go teach them, or prepare one of them to go teach them. Like we're in Elysium right now. You guys see that movie? We're in Elysium right now. We're living on freaking clouds right now. Other people are drinking dirty water that you can't clean, that don't have anywhere to friggin' go and buy food, going through famine, going through all sites right now all around the world. And the concept is they're there. You don't know they're there because every Sunday you see the same faces. I know none of us is going taking trips in between the week, going to check Japan and go and check China or go and check India or go and check, Kenya or whatever. We're here. I'm just sharing to let you know that one thing, the prophet said, about the uniting of Asia. And two, when I look at Asia, I know there's people out there suffering who don't even realize the importance of civics.
Okay, what I want to have to this is my opening. Going back to the same thing that he said. He said, where we aim for, where we're looking for. Let me back up a little bit. We used to have a small place over there 5-6 months ago. This is where we are. Who know we're gonna a year ago know what we were gonna be here now. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I mean. Exactly. It's not the civic, not the this, that. We're over in a small place over there. No, we're in a big place. And that's where we are from last year to this year. Where are we now heading to now?
Wherever we need to be to accomplish the mission.
Our desires. All right, one at a time. Who's next? I think
already.
I wanted to touch on what you were saying about the whole thing with United Nations. What the prophet said is that it's, above and beyond, you got to take it to the other. This United Nations, it's not just so-called people out there, Moorish Americans. Really, the ones that are classified as Filipino and the Chinese and Indians. What I've been noticing is when you know who you are, they already have their stuff set up. They have they have their stuff. What I'm saying in the sense that they're working together already.
areas with their stuff. And we're over here as so-called black people. Remember, we're the founders of civilization, right? So-called black people, right? I've seen it for myself. I'm working on like big projects with these guys. Tesma's been there with me. These guys are uniting Asia, literally. Literally, like uniting Asia in the sense that they're living together in a big, they use all three of their heads to say, listen, why don't we just all live together in this big house? Why don't we just make a big house? I know guys that have Hindu standees that own tractor trailers, right? They control commerce, like the travel between goods and services, right? Like things like that. Once we know who we are, to show them that we know who we are, they're more inclined to work with us. Is what he's saying, and where we see things going. What Brother Tesla was touching on is we got to take this United Asia, literally. We got to show them who we are. It's because they don't know the citizen part. They know that they have a nation. They know that they work together to get things done. But in the sense that do they know civics and Martian Americans and that there's a de facto and a de jure? No, they don't really. They don't really know that. You know, but they got everything else, right? One thing I know is just do.
Omar was he at the time.
Okay, so I was just going to ask when we were talking about the other nations, I'm sure we're all clear on this, or should be. All those other nations know exactly what's going on here. The only thing that they're ever unsure about is exactly how genuine you are about what's going on. They've all been talking, including my uncles. They all know what's going on. They've just been told to keep it mum. So they're not waking us up. And that's really what it is. So one of the things I've realized, and you better understand this, this is what I hear, these people aren't really here to share stuff with us. They're now vying for the piece of the pie. It's not about coming here to join hands with us. It's really about stepping over us right now. Because that time has come and gone. And we haven't been unified enough for them. So they're not even considering us. That's how I see it. I don't see that when we're down there and those outreach things, those same Islam people that know all about us, talking about meeting us, they ain't coming to meet us. Because they ain't even rating us. They got their flock. And that's what I'm noticing. They're not, from my perspective, I'm noticing that they'll smile at you, they'll give you a couple of handshakes, but really they should be here in droves too.
That's fine. I agree.
Not here because of that.
I agree with you 100%. However, I'm not talking about that because I know what you're talking about. I know that they say that way. That's right. But when you talk, you know what you're looking at 0.0001% of the population of where they come from.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the people who are still there. The people who are still back home. People who will never get the visa to come here. People who will never get the green card to come here. People who will never get through the global de facto system and get bumped up on the list and get the check mark to come here.
And the only reason you get the check mark from here is when you sign off.
Sign off
for keeping the fraud going.
Exactly. So why would I even care about other people who signed up to come over here to come back? Well, unless they care about me.
One thing I'm also mindful of, the people that are back home, the hard people, they're really only, like the men are speaking. The men are really only doing things just for the sake of because pressure of life from women. So I see that they're not being themselves because they're just buckling on into whatever the woman's saying or whatever the case may be. And you don't want to. Yeah, but at the same time, that's the word. That's exactly the word. But at the same time, if the woman is not on point, is doing certain things and speaking in a manner that is not of her divine, then the man has to know himself and present that to the woman to have her see that, not force her to swallow that pill.
Yeah, but brother, we have to say that while not creating families. So remember, the picture of the 101 is the prophet holding an unconscious lady. So we all know that, yet we're out there continuing to create life with these unconscious.
No, we have to create families. What the families that were created, they have to be on the divine perspective.
That has to start before the family.
It's created. Start before the family is created.
That's the clay to start forward. Because if she's still in her mother with her lower self while the baby's being born, all that stuff that we're not right now, she's never learned in our mother's movies. The stuff that we are right now is the stuff we learned in our mother's womb. So we better understand that. So if your mother was under stress when she was carrying you, then you're under stress. If she's not of the level of intelligence, then you're like
To add on to that, one interesting thing that I learned when we were listening to a lecture by a doctor was that the lymphatic system also. If your lymphatic system is clogged as well as your partner's, that means that children you're bringing into this world's lymphatic system also are going to be the same as that. We all learn on home. We're also learning from time in memory, getting all kinds of information downloaded from generations and generations and generations on time.
Yes, but that is where the baby is perfect. And as she continues to grow, she basically, like we all do, we sort of become more and more toxified.
Yeah.
We study that, where the baby's got all the power. And by the time you're 20, you've been burned out. By the time you're 50, you want to know why mom's not fighting, because she's had 50 years of being dumbed down. But it's the baby that came right out that's speaking 15 languages and lifting shit with their minds because they haven't been taught. Right? But ultimately, if we don't step back, this is where we're at right now. So don't be jealous. Let's go bringing ourselves out of this and setting up a line in the sand or in the thing to not drop below a certain vibratory level.
So I guess what you're saying is that it's an individual thing first before it's collective.
I think it's one of the same thing. I liken it to the team. It's what you're doing for yourself, but also how that. And I always like to use the term like the basketball thing. It's like, we're talking about checking out for someone. It's like taking that sixth foul, the foul that man, and you get kicked out of the game, and your team wins because you made that pivotal play that kills you, but keeps you. But I'm saying that it's all one and the same. It's just
There's no low, there's no high, no high and low. It's just that.
Well, but also
the difference is you can have an individual without the collective, but you can't have a collective.
Because it was recently, a couple months ago, the parallel I'm seeing between when I was going through my Pan-African Hotep studies and everything, and then I came across the English research. With all these things I studied growing up, from planets away and civilization theories, all the way to what's happening in our backyard, and I realized, wait, why am I studying a planet that might be called Moor, and I don't even know what's happening in my backyard? How many people here would have their own trust for their land that are not renting around the world? How many people that are going through a civil case that ask for, say, the oath of office for a judge, but don't realize they can go to a court reporter and get it themselves and then present it to them, so they have no out. Like, it's just these little civil movements. And so once we actually solidify our own place, people will be like, oh, they managed to do it, and then we can start reaching abroad and showing people, okay, not only do we know this, we've actually practiced it as well. I think that.
And I agree with you. It's funny.
It's good to know about, but we need to take care of it.
Does that work? I'm using an analogy. Maybe you can see that we all heard the honest, right? Yeah. So does that work? And this is just sort of speaking freely. There's this whole new cannabis thing and the legal cannabis thing. And I think we may even talk about it. Maybe this guys at work, but the Amish, as a collective, are like a nation unto themselves. When you go up there, they run the show in those communities. That's one of the horses and all that stuff. This guy was at work and he was offering some cannabis to another guy that he had taken from the Amish, who are in full production, making weed up and down. They were involved in carrying Nazi drugs over the borders of North from so-called the South America up to Canada. But they, as a collective, when the house needs to be built, small 50 people come up to the house. And Olaf might not like Magnus, but when it's time to go down, they're on the same side.
This is as long as Magnus hasn't been excommunicated.
Right, or maybe not. Maybe even if he's been excommunicated, Magnus will still pick up a hoe and go up there and fight whoever he needs to. And that's probably more the point to it. What I'm saying is that we can look to other communities and that's what we can see as the Amish, as an example, reflect the Filipinos, the Chinese, who in the de jure sense, they are tight. They are a collective that will not be broken. You know, the Vietnamese, they say, have been attacked by the 3 largest superpowers in the world. They've never been defeated because they don't play and they get their women involved. That's why they've never been defeated.
The more you have to find the person that is be responsible for.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is moving forward from this, from a collective like this, we need to continue, I think, and this is where my connection comes from. If we're not continuing to be organized and continuing to sort of make plans, I mean, it's, you know, they talk about the Israeli state has a 500-year plan. We don't even know what we're doing next week. How are we gonna beat them? They have a 500-year plan. So they say that's bullshit. Why don't we get a year plan? Why don't we get a 6-month plan? Why don't we start with a month plan?
But you see, now that's the thing, because I'm going to say it again. Everybody must know their own purpose and be responsible for their own purpose. But that's my reason why I ain't got no clock. Bonfire on the clock in my leg. Nah, because yo, if somebody comes and say, yo, I'm in a jam right now. Oh, yo, I can't do that, you know. Right now, I gotta go clean my shoes, you know. I promised myself I'm gonna clean my shoes at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday.
So I give you an hour, but I would see it like this. So let's say the plan was that you got a call to go help a boy move, but at 6 p.m. you were supposed to be on a bridge guarding your nation. Let's say you had time, at 6 p.m. you had to be on the watchtower, and your boy called you to move. Well, I know what I'll do. Like, yo, my baby is my dad. First of all, you couldn't even be at the clock tower at 6 because you don't have a clock. That'll be the first thing. You couldn't even be there, right? Hey. No, I'm just saying that, right? Yeah. But I'm just using that as an example. All I'm saying is that here's what I say to you. One of these Europeans said it to me. One of these Europeans said it to me. He said, you have to watch the people, and a rapper, I think it was, he said, you gotta watch the people that are being successful. And watch what they do and emulate that. Well, no, the Europeans told me what he was telling me was that the royals, the English, they travel around with their own chef with their own food. They don't eat the food where they go. They bring their food with them. They bring their own honey with them. That kind of stuff. I'm saying, I'm using that as an analogy. And they've been ruling the world. So maybe we should be eating our own food and making sure not to eat any foreign food. Yeah. That might be even the beginning of the end for everything. Is eating our own food.
I got a problem, yes, on that. You know they got a hand in every single country. So if they're bringing their own food, they already import it from somewhere else.
Well, okay, I think you're sort of, to me, well, okay, yeah. What I'm saying is you might be sort of lost over what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they pick whatever food they say is healthy, and whatever they walk with their own food and their own chefs. Whether that food is been culled from certain places, or whether they've got their own farms. This is what this guy told me, and he was saying that under the guise that what his theory was that he was watching people that were successful and what they did to be successful, and thought that would be a good way to be successful himself. Being successful. For example, you want to get in shape. People are jogging and going to the gym, then you jog and go to the gym to get in shape. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you see it. All right. Well, you mentioned the word success, and I know success is a very powerful word, but like as far as in like the nationality that people base their success upon that rock. So like everybody got to find how everybody got to find something in their own self. Men got to find something in their own self. Women have to find something in themselves.
So I think that there would be what I would consider to be a standard success for certain people, because you could say, I have a one-room house, I have a one-room with a TV and a fridge, and I'm successful. Some people will find that successful. Who could set that standard? Who could say that standard? And I would agree with you, but I would say this: look within your heart and see what you would think is success.
I think that's what everybody mentions back in your keys are God.
Yeah, but guess what? What do you think our God would give us? Our God would give each one of us a castle. not an apartment, not welfare. What are we talking about?
I haven't seen a castle here on Canaanland yet.
Well, guess what? Because the Europeans are running the
You see
show.
what? I haven't seen one. You know, there's Newcastle. Oh, yeah. That's the one I see. That's the one I see.
We're gratifying the trust. Well,
Hey, I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
So what is this discussion about? Somebody refresh my memory.
So we're talking about where we're going further. Talk about where we're going.
Trying to find a point, but everybody tries to bring a point to serve what they're trying to say, but really it's misdirected or misleading from the initial thing that was being spoken about. Like somebody will say sacrifice, and all of a sudden sacrifice turns into kill. And then we start talking about killing each other, but no one said kill. I know, we gotta listen sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know about a lot of things because whenever I talk about anything that I steered away, anything I brought that steered away from the original topic, I only did that knowing that we established. Whatever.
No, but it wasn't really. It was just like, okay, let me switch to this. So, no, it wasn't really. It was just maybe in your mind, but it was still like there was no conclusion of anything. It was just okay. Let me lead to the next one.
I want to see this. I want to see this in defense. I think getting together to talk about this stuff. This is what I've always been pushing. Right? I think this is absolutely important. Well, if we sit here and ask that question, we sit around for 3 hours talking in circles. That should say something too. It's the very nature. Just I'm saying, you can say lots of things in a good way. But you can say things that are working things out. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I mean about movements moving forward. Big CEOs, they all get together. They all meet in their boardrooms every day for a couple hours. They go on retreats. They go on whatever. I mean, this is what I'm saying.
The criteria in that meeting.
Put it on the road. So when more is up to roll up, it's 8 can travel. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I get together to see what we have to do. From the ministry or wherever, get it on the go. We need to do something in Israel, whether it's 6 months or a year, to put something.
Well, see, that's what. And let me add this on. That's the whole purpose of why there's the town halls and why because class formats not for the nation to build about what we're gonna do. It's gonna be setting up the forum with the timeline, timetable, whatever like that. If it's gonna be an 8-hour whatever, then it's gonna be 8 hours. We're gonna go through all this stuff and we're gonna talk about it. People are gonna express whatever they gotta express, and we leave with knowing that okay, the next time we come back, certain things are gonna be done, certain things are, but you know what I mean. But you know, this is what's needed with us. You know what I'm saying? Everybody being able to put in their knowledge so we can see how we're moving. Like Omar saying, see how we're getting to that light that we know is down there. However we get through there, everybody has a piece. So what's to make it?
You know, you walk across the room and stuff your toe and you fall. That's what it is like. You're in the light. So you gotta tread carefully, you know, pushing forward, or maybe taking big jumps, whatever it is. But I'm saying
the people with the night vision, they go in front.
Right? The people who hear well, all that kind of stuff. I'm saying it's gonna take people's meeting, organizing, communicating. So this class every Sunday, that's what I'm talking about. It's more like an instruction class. Really think about it. And it's not that it's absolutely not warranted, but you know, people are saying it's 10 years we got here. So you know, 10 years. So where are we in 10 years from now? In 10 years from now, are some of us all of us going to be here in 10 years from now?
That's the next part of it.
First one is better. I like the first one better. First one you said was better. I'm more polite.
Yeah.
No such thing as that. We don't even embrace that concept. All right.
Any questions or comments or anything else?
Any questions?
Anything else on
Any
anybody else?
questions or comments? I just wanted to, we're looking to start, I think you guys, most of you guys have to for 12 o'clock. What we're looking to move forward is doing, possibly keeping the classes at
12 start.
Maybe even move it up to 11. From the
No,
perspective
not
that
quite
as the days get shorter, right? There's less daylight. Daylight gets shorter, so you probably want to be moving, you know, I'm up from 7:30 when we get here.
No, we'll be here still. We'll be here still. Yeah, we'll be here.
11 to 2 or something like that. I'm looking at like, or maybe 12 to 3 is what we're doing now. We have like an hour afterwards, and then we're going to start moving around with all of the more individually as and moving forward, collecting data for our next town hall.
Yeah.
You know, but even talking about getting the AC already. It's not the route to go through the sort of more science temple thing with actual plates like that. Maybe you better just start traveling out with the conveyance. Nothing on it. Just a flag. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, but let's talk about it moving forward. Whatever that may be, involve an exercise. I'm saying that's the kind of thing that
we could at least start with.
well, just remember this. We all have to, just one thing I think most of us who've gone through any of this practice, I don't know. So I'm saying, any of us, well, you've never do traffic stuff, no, not that. No, well, what I'm saying, any of us who've gone through that traffic stuff, know it's all BS. Anyways, that we're dealing with them and making decisions on anything. So if we're going to sit down at some table with them, discuss something, or then giving us some rulers, that's going to be in our favor. That's not going to be trying to keep their little fight game going. We're never going to get that. I think it's probably going to come more of a result. Much more with a, hey, this is what we're doing. And you better understand the right where we're at. Because I think we're use the stuff only for that kind of activity. Anyway, that's the thought. That to me is some of the smaller stuff that goes around. I mean, I think it's a great thing. You need that. So you want your rights, so you need to make that happen before you know, whatever our next trip, let's say, or whatever. Or, you know, but we should also not think to rush anything from any perspective of, you know, I don't know how you got it, or maybe you get it out there and do whatever, and then it gets taken. Is that, like, to me, from a certain perspective, I would see if it takes 3 months to figure it out properly. I would say I would take the 3 months before I would just say, let me go really do something, you know, just to prove my nation report. Would it be better to get it in the corporate, at least get a corporate thing on it with no insurance, so that as you're traveling down, you're not being harassed? I mean, that's how I'm conveying myself now, because I think putting, let's say, indigenous plates on, but that's just like putting a red sign on my thing to be harassed. Because what I'm telling you is that, when they're traveling by, and they just at least see their little brand, 90% of the time they're just letting you go. You put something on that says F you, right? And I'm just saying, what is our purpose here? Our purpose is to get our 8 people from here to there and get the trouble as possible. I'm saying this moving forward, but I can also see it being seen. That's the thing. Let's pick the thing.
Pick the thing, yeah.
Let's pick the thing.
Put more size temple on it, the whole stuff. Go off on it.
Blue feathers to the top. No, really. And then you're never in that thing without a fez at all, and your national dress and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's listen, this is the bus. Now how do we employ that? I'll tell you what, you know, you could probably have moved out of there, you could probably travel here and back, you know, plate on, I have no problem. Right?
I want to take it out of the, put it into the.
So then what do you do? You put it in the trust. And that's what we can do, but that would be the corporate trust. So from the perspective of the nonprofit here, would put it under the nonprofit corporate trust that's been created here.
Why would you put it in that?
Why would you do that?
It has to be visible.
I'm not gonna ask that.
We
I'm not gonna
didn't
get that to it because I don't wanna open up a new genre right now.
No, it's a good, no, it's actually a good question.
I know it is, and there's nothing not to that too, but I was going to honor the representation with the.
Well, we didn't manufacture yours. Okay. So it's a recognizable product of another group of people. So we have to have the common sense to know that they're gonna recognize, oh, that's a van. Right? That's an automobile with an engine, 4 wheels that is manufactured by Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
So like we have to have the common, so when they see
No
that,
manufacturer certificate of
say that
origin.
it's in a trust, that's the
Can't get
trust
the
that they're
certificate of
taking.
origin. That's what we're gonna ask.
Well, let's say
We're
this.
gonna talk to them and tell them that. Otherwise, ignore them. If you ignore them, then they're gonna do what they do because they're highways. They're not law enforcement, they're highways.
And let's say
You know
this,
that.
what we're looking to do corporately also is the fact that they've got the title to begin with. The title to the actual vehicle they already have. So they ultimately have a claim to that. So what we would be doing is we would at least be countering that claim
Proper.
with the claim that is part of another corporate part of that trust. If you see what I'm saying.
I would like to discuss this in town hall, you know,
But I'm just explaining to you why we would do that, to counter that. Because if you're trying to say that it's actually outside of their stuff, they're gonna come back with the title belongs to us.
I don't risk on whatever they want. Yo, that's
I'm
not.
saying they actually have the
It's
physical
not me
title.
alone, it's not me alone,
They
right?
have the physical title, so that would win out. So you would counter it by saying that I put it into a nonprofit religious trust, which trumps that, which is what this was all based on. It's the religious trust that's created this whole thing to begin with.
That's it. You see our reports of first something on the record.
Well, there,
You can file stuff.
No, not filing. It's like, I'm not saying give somebody else your record. I'm saying you just, like in general.
Absolutely.
That's all it's doing, right?
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm not gonna speak in for or against it. I don't see right now.
yeah, let's move on.
That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm doing.
You wanna make that announcement yet soon, or you talk to everybody, or you got through everyone? If you got everybody already, it's all good.
Well, yeah, this alumni meeting is only for members that been here from. The alumni meeting is only for members that been here from that time that they've been here, or any.
Say that again?
Alumni, all is invited.
No, it's just
Alumni,
yeah.
all is invited.
It's like what the temples would call the grand body. So you get brought into that, like we just brought Brother Kobena in to it. As you know, with Amari, he had stepped down. So as people pay their quote unquote spiritual dues, then they get brought into, once they've been around for a certain amount of time and they're tried and true. The majority of the people who are in it now are people who've been here from almost the start, when we first started up.
And you guys were asking about certain things. One of the things that I'd like to see next year is all the rest of the people. Like I had a thought for why should all of us in this room be able to go in next year's summer camp out? Why can't 3 of us organize that for a weekend? I'm just saying, like we're grown men, like, we're having problems doing very basic English here in general, and the add-up to the alumni only come out of the perspective that what's happened is, when the European talk about it, you're only on the road, and you're on those single roads and you've got a bicycle guys at the front, and all the cars behind you, all, some old dude, just drowning on, and everyone, there's a huge lineup, because there's one guy on a bike. Well, ultimately, what we're hopefully trying to do is get the guy in the bike lane, his lane, and then have the people that can move forward, and also have a spot for that. Like, we shouldn't have to crawl. Because, let's say Rosie's leading the procession. You shouldn't have to walk at half a kilometer an hour because Rosie's leading the procession. Not to say that shouldn't be where it's at, but we need to be able to give the people who are at different speeds the ability to move forward. So that's where some of that stuff, we're looking to start some of that stuff. Second level stuff. But that comes from second level activity. Everyone paying their dues. Everyone, doing whatever. Everyone's showing up class all the time.
Or showing up to events or town halls or whatever it is.
So different from the one before.
Well, and as I said, I have, and I told people that threatened this, to get pictures from the last 4 or 5 individual days. There's at least 20 people that are different every year. Every year, for the most part, the last 5 years, there's always different people. You think about it, some of us who've been here since RS.
And then we need a body. So we need a body.
Think about from RS 7 years ago. Remember RS and we're Trumbull, wherever Plymouth?
Yeah.
The classes in Plymouth to here. There might be 5 of us that are the same. Think about how many people. There's 35 people who've been on the payee list. There's only 18, 17 people here. There should be 35 people here every week. You can't tell people.
Yeah, and that's also part of the whole like we were saying that this is really creep level. So this should be full room of new people all the time. And then in the week you have your civic classes for the members, and you have your whatever for the members, and the members have their own personal, classes that they go to geared to what Omar's saying, the lane or whatever that they're in, right? So like again, we use the example of the Moors that brought us, and they had Mufti classes, civics classes, martial art classes, history classes, spirituality classes, Quran classes, 101 classes, because everybody who was quote unquote a member, whatever skill they had, they were using that, and they got a space to use, and they were making use of the space as quote unquote members, right? So it's the same idea that if we're looking at this to grow, if you can't personally put the energy in, or the 500 in, or the materials in, or whatever, go out there, find 5 people who can. You know what I mean? Let those people put their whatever they got to put in, because it's not like people aren't spending or don't want to spend or holding money or whatever like that. You know what I mean? It's not like people aren't giving their energy to things. It's just we just have to be selfish with we want their energy and their stuff too, not just for them to go give it to McDonald's or give it to Subway or whoever. Like, we need to be getting some of that too. And the only way that the people are going to see that they can give this to something is if they see us. If they're not seeing us, then they're not, Marsh movement ain't interesting to them, because it's only going to be something they see online. It's only something they see in pictures. Yeah. And then, like Brother Tesba was saying, like we're the ones with the info. We're talking who got the info and who studies or whatever. More study more than anybody. Anybody out here studying more than us. So, we should have many different ways, different avenues to, and again, we already know from doing events, things like that. You give out 100 numbers or whatever, 2 people out of them 100 are gonna show up or whatever. You know what I mean? So we're not looking at trying to have you line up at the door to come in here or whatever. You know what I mean? But there has to be that responsibility on the people who are part of this to make sure they take this to the hedges and highways and get the word out to our people that this exists for them. Because other than that, trust me, they're not gonna know. You know. So we also had you have how much people we got back there for today? Just one. So we're gonna be yeah. So for the yeah, meet and greet or something. Meet and greet with the members.
Work on this and bring it down to let's make it happen. Set some dates and move forward with this logically. We can do this in a group. But ultimately, what we want to do is we want to the alumni or the administration meet with 2 or 3 like let's say an hour from now, I'm meeting with we have Kiva one and the cell is the other today. And then moving forward, we'll have a sign-up sheet. We're just gonna individually meet every one of there's only 16 of us. We over the next couple of weeks, see where everyone's at. See where it is. We take the number and say, we'll take that vote. That's the most important thing. We should come together, make some plans. Yeah. I don't know how everyone feels about that. Would be a sort of effective way of moving forward. Makes sense. And what we realize is for the new ones, they're going to have a different perspective. You guys have been here for 4 or 5 years. There's going to be a beautiful synergy between what a new guy thinks and a guy who's been here for a while. That should hopefully be able to meld right into this beginning. And then we should start looking at this from not a perspective of just coming here every day to regurgitate the same stuff. Because I think we've done that wrong.
We'll probably cut that thing down to like 3:30 and 1:45 instead, because it's 3:15 right now.
I got 4:07. So we could say 3:45. Start.
All right.
And then, as I said, if Ted was the one who holds, is the one who calls town hall. I don't say specifically we need a town hall to be called. I see that the same way we just sat here and talked. We could be writing some stuff down. Hey, you go off and get this, you go off and get that. We'll meet back here next week and we build our house. Correct. I mean, as I say, I think the time for talking is not over. It's time for action, right? We've been speculating long enough. Yeah. Now it's time to operate.
The only reason why I was listening to town hall.
The town was great. That's where it should happen. You're right. The problem that I found with the town hall is sometimes we get together, it's town hall.
We also have to speak up, and I can't speak for a woman, and I wouldn't want a woman to speak for me. So I know they more can speak for it,
But here's what I say: that is why we decided to break it down into individual components, with respect to that. Sometimes people don't want to talk in our teams. But in a smaller group, hey, this is what I really want. Yeah. You're right.
Right? There is a woman that they do.
Well, yeah, when you're, especially coming out,
it's safe bet. We're still not all yet. You know what I'm saying? Makes sense.
So this is what I was. This is why I say,
especially the new ones that doesn't have the.
This is why I say we have to stop being strangers to each other. That's really what I think. To have this move forward, that they have certain, certain movies have idolized this where people go away on that team building stuff. They do those things where they stand up and then you fall back. And everyone's supposed to catch you. you know what I mean, to build trust, those kind of things. Just those kind of, those are things that you say, oh, that's laughable. That's what builds strong connections.
There's a lot more.
Yeah. So then also, just to mention, winter time is coming, and it seems like, do you want to speak on this?
Oh, yeah, so we're requesting that everybody get themselves some inside slippers, shoes, or whatever like that. Because once it starts getting mushy outside, there's gonna be no boots in there.
So what the plan is, we're gonna have sort of people come in and there's some process outside there. You sort of come in and you get rid of your, because you realize this is gonna be a slush bowl. If everyone comes in with boots. So what we're gonna do is have a way of sort of getting yourself out of your boots and then getting some kind of inside stuff. And then basically everyone's just gonna be able to, you know, use in here without getting dirty, be able to go downstairs. And then when you leave, like this door will be locked. So you have to come through this room, get your boots off, come in here, and you can hang out here in the basement without, right? And that way, because it's not going to destroy the floors. The children won't be able to do what they're doing. It's going to be a mud bowl. And then moving forward as well, I'm going to start having, not next week, but the week after, it'll be every other Saturday. I'm going to have a reading, well, it's going to be a combination, a number of things, but it's going to be Saturdays 10 to 2. And what I'm looking to do is maybe get people to sort of have like a library time. You can come in here, and what I want to do is have from 10 to 10:45. Come in here, you can read, you can research or whatever, and then we have 15-20 minutes. Either you guys can get into discussion, or then we have another component that it can hopefully be a thing where across the board, we come in here to try and hopefully nurture reading and studying, stuff like that. That's at least one of the ideas I have for this Saturday. Another thing would maybe be sort of taking genre or different master teachers. Maybe I'll have like a Taj weekend or a Seer weekend. So I'll show you a couple of things. Got a whole bunch of old DVDs. You can sort of sit down and have that kind of thing. Current affairs, sort of roundtable discussions like this. So that'll happen every other Saturday, and what you guys are going to need to, and this board will start to become much more what you need to sort of look at. And then as well as on those same weekends, I'm looking to maybe open up temple from 9 or 10 on a Sunday, so it's 6 on certain ones. You can just have it open a little bit more and start setting some stuff up and have some of that energy building stuff.
It seems 10 to 10:45 just what we're starting off with.
What I would say is on a Saturday, you come in here right now, we'll do some quiet time. People come in, you can bring in your stuff to study, you can read, and then hopefully what we do is sort of have like a 45-minute period where it's sort of a little quiet time. And then if you've read some, this could be stuff where you have stuff that could pertain anything, any kind of subject. And then at the end of that 45 minutes, if you've got something to sort of, you want to sort of present to the group, then we can sort of start on that discussion. You've learned something that you want to present to the group, and then if there's nothing, then you can all just get back into another. So this is just sort of ideas. You can all just get back into reading. Maybe a way to utilize some of the resources here. As I said, other times we can play some DVDs, that kind of thing.
Islam, everybody's good? Brother Durrell. Let's go, Moor. Time for work, bro. Time is over.
She doesn't know how to. You could teach her another time.
Allah for the universe.
Allah for the universe.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My
guide.
And my salvation.
By night.
And
by day.
With holy prophet.
Noble Ali. Islam.
Yeah, man, you need to understand something. Don't even sit down. What's wrong?
I'm still waiting for her to do it. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I told Omar. Yeah. Yeah. I can just go remind him again. When's the done?
I don't know, it's been up there for a week.
Oh, for real. That's probably right. Yeah. Just tell him to see, or tell him to. Hey, Omar. Brother Damien. Thank you, sis. Love the picture. I love your turban too. Good job. Oh yeah, you told me. Peace and love, Moors. Islam. We're connecting the week. You already know how we do. Me and Brother Yusuf got to deal with something. Either tomorrow or Tuesday's class. So be on the lookout for that. As well, don't forget, you could hit up the willofalah.com. You can hit up the khalifamedia.com. And don't forget, study. Continue to evolve, Mars. Peace and love to all.